Hello and welcome back to Continental Club. We're back in the East Dulwich Tavern to discuss the hottest topics in European football. Joining me as ever, we've got Henry Hill and Michael McCubbin. Turned it around. It was Mikey that got the big applause this week. McCubbs, yes. You were watching El Clasico last night, you were saying.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy? Pretty crazy game.
Yeah, it was a good game.
I've not seen it yet.
Yeah. I think you said it was going to be dull before as well, so Diggy actually strikes again in a positive way. It was just entertaining, wasn't it? Both sides, defensively suspect. Luke De Jong causing Militao all sorts of problems, which was interesting to see.
Big Luke.
Yeah, and Abdi I thought was really impressive for Barcelona. But yeah, Real Madrid are just better, aren't they? And Vinicius and Benzema are just on fire. Benzema in particular was brilliant.
Awesome.
And probably should have had a hattie, to be honest. So yeah, congratulations Real Madrid. But it was a good game, and it does signify that Barca are probably, at least footballing wise, are in a better place than I think some people give them credit for. Especially under Xavi, they just look like they've been given, instructions to just attack. And if nothing else, that will make them quite fun to watch, I think, over the next few months. So yeah.
Nice. Well, long may it continue. Henry, did you get your teeth stuck into any midweek action?
No, I want to just say once and for all, I think Vinicius is a really good footballer. That
joke does need to die.
I'm so bored of it. I'm so bored of Joe Tomlinson tagging me and stuff. I didn't realise he would be this good. I don't think many people realise he was going to be this good, but I'm pleased for him. He was awesome again last night. I went to Tottenham Morecambe last week by mistake, and
by mistake.
I thought I was saying yes to tickets to a different thing on the WhatsApp
Premier
chat.
League game.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh no, it's Tottenham Morecambe." I went, "Oh right, okay." But actually, it was probably as exciting as that game could have possibly been. And yeah, I was sat next to the Morecambe fans, as close as you can be, and one of them threw a coin at my head.
No way.
And I've never been called big name, big swear words so much in my life. Certainly for a game I didn't even care about. I was just, it was quite difficult. Wow. But yeah, we've got this weekend. We've got Hampton versus Dorking, our
big
local
game,
non-league
EFD derby.
Non-league clash, yeah. So yeah, we're looking forward to that this weekend.
Nice.
Fancy it, Dukes? Do you want to come
include that in big match predictions? Maybe it depends what
go
day
on.
it is, potentially. Anyway,
James behind the camera.
James is keen. James is keen as ever. Let's get into today's show, guys, because we are talking transfers that make perfect sense. There's a lot of moves going on right now. There's a lot of different rumours. There's a lot of speculation. So today we want to pick out some moves that might not happen this month, but at some stage would make a lot of sense. And the first one we want to talk about was suggested by @CoreyWConnor1, and it's Bruno Guimaraes to Arsenal. Now, McCubbs, this one has been heavily talked about. It probably won't be completed this month. In fact, it looks like they're going to bring in a different player on loan, potentially, in Arthur Melo. But Bruno Guimaraes would be an excellent acquisition at some stage.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm surprised there aren't more clubs in for him. I think he was also linked with Juve. But I mean, when you look at his all-round skill set, I don't think there are really many better central midfielders of his age profile in Europe at the moment. And 45 million euros seems like a bit of a snip. I mean, it's obviously, I think they paid around 20 million to bring him in from Brazil in 2020. So they would at least double their money, Lyon. But obviously we know Lyon classically have been quite hard to bargain with. And yeah, I think 50 million or around that mark is definitely what he's worth. So yeah, he's in his second season with Lyon. For those kind of unfamiliar with how he's been this season, he's got 5 assists in 24 League and Europa League games. He generally plays alongside Maxence Caqueret in that 2 behind the attack, or behind the 4-2-3-1 essentially in a double pivot. But he's not your just out and out defensive midfielder. He does have very strong defensive numbers, but he drives play forward. I think he's got something like 8.5. He averages something like 8.5 passes into the final third per 90, which I think only Verratti and Ander Herrera beat in Ligue 1. So he's a really serious player in that sense. And in a Lyon team which have been pretty suspect for a lot of the season, especially defensively, he's really stood out. So I think he would be, a really, really exciting signing for Arsenal or any club with kind of big ambitions in the next few years, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. He seems like he's got a quite similar skill set to sort of a Declan Rice or someone very comfortable driving through midfield as well. much more creative than people give him credit for as well. I think he'd be an excellent addition at some stage. But yeah, Fabrizio Romano and Charlie Watts, who's a very well-respected Arsenal journalist, are saying that it's going to be very difficult to beat this window. So it looks like Arsenal might bring in Arthur on loan, Henry. Yeah. What do you make of that? Because he's a player with an enormous reputation that hasn't really been able to produce his best consistently for either Barcelona or Juventus.
Yeah, I agree. I think when he left Barcelona, we were all thinking, why on earth have they gone and done this? He was just beginning to really hit his stride with the club, looked like a very competent player. Obviously, that transfer fee was heavily inflated for reasons we don't need to go into. And he just hasn't really been given much of a look in at Juventus, has he? I mean, 270 league minutes this season? That kind of says it all. It says 43 games in a season and a half at the club, but only 16 of those have been starts, which is, I think he's had a few injuries along the way as well, but he's just never really, like a lot of those midfield players, never really been given a proper run out in the middle for Juventus, and I completely agree with you. He just hasn't shown his best. I think this would actually make sense. I think they're looking, essentially Arsenal very short right now, and they're just looking for a few reinforcements. I think in the short term, Arthur could go there, maybe do what Odegaard did previously of Arsenal, just kind of show what he can do a little bit, build a little bit of confidence. But you know, this is quite a critical moment for Arsenal. They're really going for the Champions League at the moment. I don't think they should just be handing out opportunities to players to get fit again for no reason. So they really need to make sure they've scouted him. They know exactly what they want. I mean, listen, he's a very tidy passer. He always has been. 5.7 progressive passes, 7.3 progressive carries. That's really decent numbers for someone who almost semi-box to box midfielder. Wasn't the most prolific going forward for Barcelona, but was kind of, as I said, slowly becoming maybe the player they were looking for in that midfield there. I'd like to see it happen, but if there was an opportunity to get someone like Guimaraes, who's really sort of playing to the peak of his abilities at the moment, I do think they should go there. But for a 6-month loan, it's a pretty safe option, Arthur.
Yeah, definitely. I think they are, as you say, incredibly short there. Elneny and Partey have gone off to the AFCON. And Xhaka, I think, has got COVID at the moment as well, although he might have recovered by this time. I think the current Omicron variant doesn't seem to last as long, so maybe he'll be back for this weekend. But yeah, they definitely need a midfielder in there. And Arthur is someone that can keep the ball incredibly well in tight areas. He just doesn't have that goal or assist output that most people thought he was going to, because in Brazil, actually, I think he was quite effective going forward. And everyone thought he was the next Iniesta, which is always a difficult tag to live up to. So hopefully he can get to Arsenal, reproduce his best form, and just isn't another Denis Suarez situation. Let's move on to @VIP786_007 suggestion.
Oh.
Love it, 007. VIP 007 as well.
My favourite.
And he wants to talk about Denis Zakaria to Man United. Now, McCubs, Man United's defensive midfield situation is one we've talked about for years across Football Daily and Euro Football Daily. It's quite boring, well-trodden ground. Yeah. So what I wanted to ask you is, if someone like Zakaria comes in, is it Fred that's dropping out? Is it McTominay that's dropping out? Who would be your ideal partner for someone like him?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Thing is with Zakaria, like I think under any other, under like say Solskjaer or whatever, he may not have been the best option. And obviously, we've spoken to death about defensive midfielders in Man United for the last 3 years, but. I think under Rangnick, he suddenly becomes maybe a better option, just because he's played in those kind of systems before under Marco Rose, and even under Adi Hütter. Mönchengladbach are a pretty high pressing side. Obviously, the Bundesliga in general has been a league where high pressing has been quite prominent for much longer than the Premier League. So I think in that sense, having someone who's very dynamic like him, someone who is quite strong in the challenge, although actually his tackle and interception numbers are not any better than McTominay's or Fred this season. It's hard, without having watched him week in, week out, it's hard to say who his ideal partner would be, but I would probably drop Scott McTominay out. Just, I think he's probably a slightly more similar player to McTominay in that he is, his main skill set probably is as a ball carrier. Although his passing is also very decent as well, but his main kind of way of progressing the ball is through carrying it rather than passing it. And I just think McTominay has been, I think, arguably worse than Fred this season. So I think he probably would be the one to make way. But yeah, it's a difficult one because it's just like, you know, United already have so many midfielders who don't seem to be fitting, or at least Rangnick doesn't fancy them. It just seems mad to me that we're looking at someone like Zakaria and or he supposedly being linked with someone like Zakaria, and Donny van der Beek still can't get a game. It just seems a bit nonsensical. Equally, you know, maybe Donny van der Beek just isn't, you know, if he's not impressing two managers, then maybe there's something on his end that needs to change. So, but yeah, in the short of it, I think, judging by what I've seen from people who know a lot more about German football than I do, Zakaria could actually be quite a good option and is actually potentially more adaptable to different systems than people would give him credit for. The one problem is, of course, is that he is quite injury prone. So that would be an issue. But equally, he will come at a very cheap price in January, or he'll come for free in the summer. So yeah, I don't think he's the worst option at all. Probably not. I don't know. I don't think he should be United's number one option, but I think he would probably do quite well.
Well done, the Cubs, for handling that question. Well, there's a hell of a lot of background noise in there. It sounds like someone's fighting with a beer barrel, and we've got police constantly deciding whether to chase the robbers or not, just outside. But yeah, hopefully the background noise will calm down as the episode continues at the East Dulwich Tavern. But yeah, back to Zakaria. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews about him on Twitter, to be honest. I don't think anyone thinks that he's going to be that transformational signing that takes Man United into title contention. I think the idea of that one midfielder changing Man United is now a bit past it, because there's so many problems in that squad aside from just central midfield. Particularly when I was watching that game against Aston Villa in the FA Cup, I just thought, it's not just midfield that's an issue here. Like, the whole team just doesn't seem to be working effectively at all. But for a short-term, a relatively low-cost, I should say, move that's only going to be about 15 million euros, it's maybe not the worst, but they could get him for free in 6 months. But there is a lot of competition in it as well. I mean, Henry, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think the fact that he is, originally when I did transfer talk a few weeks ago, it was 25 million they're asking for. Now it's 6 to 9 million euros that they might be asking for. So, I mean, that's the kind of, it's really fluctuating. So if that is just 6 months left on his contract, if they could get him for that much, then I think it is a bit of a no-brainer to bring him in, certainly as an alternative, at least an option which they can at least throw in there. But yeah, he didn't even start for Switzerland at the Euros this summer. I mean, he only came in, I think, when Xhaka was ruled out after the game after France. So yeah, like McCubbin said, quite injury prone. Maybe an easy win just to get him on a low fee, but this isn't, as you say, the all-changing transfer which United are searching for. I think even Bruno Guimaraes might be more of a sensible option, frankly. But listen, Zakaria, he's played at a high level for a fairly long time in his career. So yeah, I can see this happening, and I wouldn't be too shocked, especially given the German connection.
Yeah, get Yves Bissouma. That's what I suggest you do. Let's move on to our next one, which is from Leo Kovac Zrakit. Sorry, completely butchered your name, Leo. Anyway, he says, Lisandro Martinez to Barcelona. Now, this one I really like, actually. He's 23-year-old Ajax centre-back. He's been linked with a move by Tutto Sport. Apparently, Barcelona wanted to sign him last summer, but they could only offer him a loan deal, or only offer Ajax a loan deal, and Ajax rejected it. He has been excellent ever since he arrived at Ajax just after that Champions League run as well. He did sign a new deal in October, which runs until 2025, so I don't think he's going to be the cheapest option. But yeah, for a £6 million signing for Ajax, he's been absolutely excellent. He's small, 5'10", so you'd think, oh, he's not going to be good in the air. Absolute monster in the air. Excellent pass, can play in defensive midfield as well, can play on the left of a back three, can play at left back, really versatile. And you suddenly think for Barcelona, you know, if Frankie de Jong gets moved on this summer, if Sergio Busquets ends up, you know, continuing to wind down his career over the next 2 years, maybe Lisandro Martinez could be their long-term number 6. I mean, stranger things have happened, and I genuinely think he is a really, really talented player that can pretty much do it all in defence and midfield. So this is one I really, really like. Ajax's playing style, at least idealistically, is quite similar to what Xavi's trying to introduce at Barcelona. So I think this is a pretty much win-win for Barcelona if they can get Lisandro Martinez at some stage in 2022. So I like that one a lot. Other options to talk about. Zeus, 1882, X has talked about Orsolini to Sevilla. New Age Purist has talked about Aouar to Juventus. Either of those sort of take your fancy, Henry?
I mean, I like Aouar to Juventus. I think he's got maybe a bit more of the forward-thinking creativity they might need from some of their midfielders. Although, in fairness to McKennie, he's been popping up with goals recently.
Yeah,
I think actually McKennie Kenny's been playing above the level I expected him to, and certainly after the summer when it was claimed that due to lots of weight issues, etc., maybe professionalism, they were a bit.
He loves ranch sauce.
Well, who doesn't? Let's face it. They claimed he was a bit unprofessional, but I think he's actually really stepped up, and even someone like Locatelli, who was meant to be the big game-changing signing, hasn't shone as much as possible. Not many of the players have shone, let's face it, to be honest. But yeah, Aouar, he just. I mean, this Lyon squad's so confusing, isn't it? There's so many good players in that squad. Aouar's been one of them. He's only 23 still, 3 goals, 2 assists in 20 league games this season. It's kind of down on what he is capable of achieving, but still 3.7 shot creating actions per 90. I think Paqueta's kind of taken his creative role a bit more, and I think, in fairness, they've let Paqueta shine more because he's really stepping up. Scored a great goal against PSG last week too. So yeah, I'd like to see Aouar move. I think it has to happen eventually. Somewhere to Juventus would be a sensible move. But I agree with you about Lisandro Martinez as well. He's been stunning, and his numbers in the Champions League are consistently amazing. He's always his aerial win rate is massive. Clearances, it's always up around the 6 to the 7 mark. I think he's been the real unsung hero of that Ajax side for a long time now, and it's from players like him that Erik ten Hag's been able to keep developing that squad, bringing new players, because he's had such an excellent call with players like Martinez and there. So I completely agree with you. If they can sell one of their big players and replace them with 3 sort of 20 to 30 million price players, that'd be excellent. But yeah.
It's interesting that you talk about Frankie de Jong as well in the context of Lisandro Martinez, because he was effectively his replacement, wasn't he, at Ajax? Obviously, he plays like at centre-back now, but he did spend a lot of time in the midfield in that first season, which I guess was, 2019-20. And it's interesting, actually, I was looking at their backline earlier, and who's the guy who partners him? Timber. During Timber. And I kind of assumed, slightly because of the name and slightly because of the Lisandro Martinez being quite small, that he would be quite a big guy, but actually he's really not. And so I think it's a good kind of example of how size isn't everything in a defence. Daley Blind at right back, at left back as well. I'm quite behind that. Equally, I thought about Mohamed Salisu from Southampton a few weeks ago as a Barcelona option for centre back. But I think he would just cost quite a lot of money. I think he'd cost at least £40 million.
Do you think he's at that level now?
I think. Well, I mean, he's.
Because I think he's been very good this season.
Yeah,
but in the FG WhatsApp group, he gets some pelters.
Yeah, no, I think he's very solid.
It's pretty hostile in there.
I think he has been really good, and also he's proven himself in La Liga already. Like he was one of the best centre backs in La Liga before he went to Southampton, even though he was only there for a year. It's not the biggest sample size, but he was excellent for Valladolid, and then they got relegated the season after he left. So, I think he's a really top defender, and I think he could translate. And the thing is, with like a club like Barcelona, you don't have to have like a ready-made world-class defender to just step in. Like there are plenty of like really good young defenders who can elevate that back line, because it just kind of needs that kind of fresh blood in there. It's not all about like, I don't know, signing like a Koulibaly or whatever. I think there are plenty of players who can enter that club and take their football to another level.
I like it.
I've seen here we've got Menez 18, Malang Sarr to AC Milan, Joseph _Calvo 13, Joe Gomez to Milan as well. Also read, was it Eric Bailly? They're looking at him as well. I was just wondering.
Diallo is looking at as well, apparently.
At the risk of sort of stealing your job, I was just wondering who your favourite, who you reckon, if they were to bring in someone on the short term, maybe long term, who do you reckon it'd be? It looks like Botman's going to be too expensive, even for Dortmund at this rate.
Of those ones we've just mentioned, I'd be more confident in Joe Gomez out of any of them, to be totally honest, than possibly Malang Sarr. He's not played as much football, although it has been used a bit more by Chelsea recently. I do like Abdou Diallo at PSG, but then he gets a lot of injury issues as well. He probably fit maybe what the need of that player is better, because Simon Kjær plays on the left, doesn't he? And Tomori plays on the right. And Kjær's now injured, whereas Joe Gomez plays on the right normally with Van Dijk on the left. So maybe that would be a factor, but I don't think Joe Gomez is going to leave Anfield anymore this month. That talk has gone slightly quiet. But I think Joe Gomez is an excellent player, like one of England's best centre-backs, which isn't saying very much at the moment. When he's fully fit, so he'd be my pick for Milan, the Cubs.
Yeah, I just think get anyone in really. I think that Milan defence is pretty sound, and as we've seen with Tomori going in there, even though I'd probably rate. Actually, no, I don't think Tomori is necessarily a step above Joe Gomez. It was certainly not a step above Joe Gomez. Probably, I think Malang Sarr as well showed at Nice that he was, a really exciting defender. Still only 22 and has so much experience as well. I'd really like to see him get more game time. I think they've got quite a strong defensive foundation there when enough players are fit. That I don't think they need to worry. I don't know. I think any of those players can come in there and improve that side. I think that's very sitting on the fence. But
no, I like it.
But yeah, I don't think they need to worry too much. And in some ways, maybe Malang Sarr, just because he has a better injury record, would be a better shout.
Yeah, just on the subject of Milan, I just think Inter, just shout out to them for their business already this January, bringing in Onana on that pre-contract. It looks like ahead of the summer. Handanovic has been a great servant, but I think it's
time.
Stunning. Yeah, a great upgrade. Well, not upgrade, but you know what I mean. Sort of like for like. And then it looks
Passing the baton.
Exactly, and it looks like they're going to get Ginter as well on a free deal as well. So that just shows that's two really solid signings. Well, they probably just have to pay a sign-on fee and go from there. So I think that's just showing once again for a second summer running almost. We're not even there yet, but really smart business from Inter Milan, who look in peak form at the moment. Won the Supercoppa again, whatever it's called.
They did
last night.
In the last minute.
I was really surprised actually that Ginter wasn't linked with, seeing as they've been linked with every player under the sun over the last month, that Ginter wasn't linked with Newcastle.
No, he was. He was. I've definitely read those.
Oh,
yeah.
Right, okay, I'm wrong then. Okay.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. I really want Onana to really work out, because I think he's been quite unfairly treated. If you read that Players Tribune article by him, if you read some of the coverage around his drugs ban, it was basically a complete accident, and they all admitted that he hadn't taken it on purpose, but they refused to drop his ban by that much. So he's had a really tough time. So Onana, wish you all the best at Inter when that finally is confirmed. Guys, what do you think of our perfect transfer suggestions? We basically are in agreement that Bruno Guimaraes would be an excellent signing for Arsenal if that happened. Denis Zakaria may be an upgrade, a perfect signing for right now. And then Lisandro Martinez, I think we were all in agreement, would be a perfect signing for Barcelona. But get your suggestions in the comments down below. And let's move on to big match predictions. It's hotting up. Okay, before we pick up on big match predictions, we've got some breaking news. Sky sources tell us that Ruben Loftus-Cheek he could potentially move to Juventus, either on loan or permanently, which might mean that Arthur goes to Arsenal, like we're talking about. I'm sure there'll be more information by the time this goes live, somewhere on Friday afternoon. But yeah, stay tuned for that one. Ruben Loftus-Cheek to Juventus. I'd actually be quite pumped for that.
Was that a Sam Obaseki reveal on transfer?
Yeah, exactly.
Chelsea TV and Sky Sports.
Oba sources, exactly. Yeah. He's everywhere at the moment and absolutely smashing it. Well done to Oba. Let's do big match predictions then. So last week, it has turned around. The tables, they have turned. So last week, Gladbach versus Bayern. None of us got this right, lads.
Yeah.
Henry and McCubbs, you both went 3-0. I went 2-0. Gladbach obviously beat Bayern 2-1. I don't think that's too humiliating for any of us. I thought Bayern probably, on the balance of play, probably deserved to win that. Maybe a couple of goalkeeping errors in there, but fair play to Gladbach. Anyway, Inter versus Lazio. Henry went 2-0 to Inter. McCubbs went 3-1. I went 3-0 to Inter. It was 2-1, so 1 point for each of us. But Lyon versus PSG, fortune favours the brave. Henry went 1-1. I said Peter Bosz was going to be fired if he didn't win. L for me, massive L for me. It was 1-1. So 3 points for Henry, none for myself and McCubbs. So at the end of that week, the scores on the doors was McCubbs is on 9, work to do.
I do.
Doogie on 16. And Henry, we have a new leader on 18. A couple of perfect scores, McCubbs, it can turn around fast.
3 perfect scores this week, and I'm up to 18. So
absolutely.
That Inter Lazio score was an open goal for all of us. And we missed. I think there was a 3 points in there for one of us.
I think so as well. What were we thinking? Anyway, let's kick off with Atalanta versus Inter. We've talked about Inter quite a bit already, so we're mainly going to focus on Atalanta, but it's Sunday, 7:45. It's the big game on BT Sport, I imagine. It's fourth versus first. Atalanta, Henry, have been thrilling in the last couple of months.
Every time they go forward, they look like they might score. It's unreal. That 6-2 they had recently, was it 6-2?
Yeah.
That was. Every finish was so calm and collective. They look like a team. I mean, it's nothing new really about Atalanta going forward, but they look like a team just at the peak of their powers, doing exactly what we've come to expect from them, and it's great, isn't it? I mean, what was it? 8 wins, 4 draws, and 1 defeat. For the last 13 games, that really random. really random. It's like a Harry Redknapp impersonation. Defeat to Roma, who just all over the shot, aren't they? I can't figure out Roma at the moment. It's hard. I'm sort of like I love the Giallorossi. I've always loved them.
You also
growing
love
up.
Mourinho.
Yeah, and I had like a Totti shirt growing up, but watching them Roma at the moment is the most frustrating thing in the world.
Wait till Ainsley Maitland-Niles gets his feet under the table.
Someone should snap up Pellegrini. But anyway,
big
Atalanta,
time.
only 2 points behind Napoli, 8 points behind Inter. I think Inter are probably going to run away with it. But Atalanta on stunning turn of form. I'd love to see what they could do the second half of the season. Gosh, this game, it's quite exciting. It's a tough one to call. I think it will probably end up being a draw, but I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Okay.
But I 4 draws as well in the last few games. And Inter's defence, I'm always impressed by. I think Bastoni's stepped up once again. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, but I wouldn't be surprised if Atalanta even pinch this. So,
Okay. Atalanta, I think they had a break this midweek as well, I think. But Inter obviously had that Coppa Italia final. Maybe that would be a factor. I mean, the Cubs, how do you see this going?
Yeah, I mean, 120 minutes midweek. I mean, obviously this comes after a winter break as well. But yeah, I mean, look, you're saying fortune favours the brave. I do need to be brave now to claw my way back into this. So I think I might go for an Atalanta win. I just think if any defence can deal with Atalanta, it is Inter's defence, of course. But equally, there's just a lot, throughout the course of the game, there's a lot of options that Gasperini can use off the bench, etc. I think Malinowski's having a really good season again. We've been picking up Zapata a lot recently, but Muriel was brilliant against Udinese. I thought both his goals they were the 2 best goals of the game, I think. I'm going to go 2-1 Atalanta.
Okay. But tactically, you've gone for a draw, you've gone for an Atalanta win. So really, to mud you guys, I should just go for an Inter win, and then at least I'll get a point.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do. Playing the tactics, guys. I am going 2-1 to Inter Milan. Okay, I've said it. Let's move on.
Fair, like Gym City, etc. They haven't got the world's greatest defence.
No.
So I don't think that.
I saw a lot of Inter fans who I enjoy following on Twitter, actually. They're always quite feisty. Anyway, they were really complaining about the lack of relationship between Dzeko and Lautaro Martinez, which is an interesting one. Lautaro Martinez, I think, has been excellent recently, though. Should have had a goal last weekend. It was really unfair offside. It was just like his shoulder. I thought they were trying to stop doing that. Anyway, ridiculous. Poor him. Anyway, Marseille versus Lille is our second game. Sunday, 7:45 as well. 3rd versus 10th. Henry, you were bigging up Lille for a little comeback this year. I mean, the 10th to 4th area in Liga is incredibly close.
Yes, it's slightly misleading, that, isn't it? 3rd to 10th. This is going to be a really great game. I think I've got a hunch. I'm enjoying Marseille at the moment. We just did a scout report where we featured Dimitri Payet.
Big Dimmy.
I think he's second most creative player in Europe or something like that this season. He's
Over 40 passes.
Yeah, he's absolutely crushing it once more. He's been super impressive, hasn't he, since he's gone back to Marseille. In fairness to Payet, after the drama of that move, he's not exactly taken his foot off the pedals.
When he's fit, he's kind of been impressive everywhere.
Yeah, he's a real maverick of the game. But I mean, even that said, Marseille have been slightly dull recently. 9 goals scored, 4 conceded in their last 10 league games. That's not thrilling reading, is it? It's a bit like the AFCON at the moment. Then Payet, 7 goals, 7 assists. I think Lille are going to sneak this 2-1. I'm going to go for Lille. I just think that they've really turned it on. As I was saying previously, XG-wise, they should have picked up more points than they have this season. I think in Jonathan David, they've got a genuine star. Marseille, I think, have just got Cedric Bakambu through the door from China, which is an interesting move. Obviously, went for like 60 million or something like that to Beijing Zhuan at one point. I think he's just signed on as their new striker. So I saw that this week. So it'll be intriguing to see if he goes in up front. They've obviously got Milik. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Lille, just because they're the better form side at the moment than Marseille, who just sort of be holding on to that top 4 spot by lack of other results more than their own sort of hard work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're right to call out Jonathan David as the key man at Lille. 12 goals in 19 Ligue 1 appearances so far this season, just 15 starts. He's actually got more XG per 90, get this, than Kylian Mbappe, but was obviously far less creative. But fair play to Jonathan David, really taking his game to new levels, being now linked with Arsenal. I always go 3rd on these predictions, so I'm just going to get it in here. I think this is going to be 1-1. I think it's going to be 1-1. McCurbs. What do you reckon? We're all kind of going for different
I'm
scores this week.
I'm thinking maybe a draw as well.
I think that's smart, actually. Yeah.
I just think I was going to go for a Marseille win, but I think Lille are the better side overall at the moment. It was good to see Şengizundur get on the score sheet last weekend because I feel like he'd been a bit quiet since the start of the season when he started the season brilliantly. So hopefully we'll see a big performance from him. I'll go 2-2.
2-2, there we have it. Right, let's move on to game 3 to wrap up big match predictions for this week. It's Dortmund versus Freiburg. Now, normally, we probably wouldn't mention this on big match predictions, but Freiburg have been stunning this year, at least in a defensive sense. They're in 4th, Dortmund are in 2nd. This game kicks off in just a few hours' time. Hopefully it'll be shown on Sky Sports. Should have checked that before I said it, but anyway, it's at 7:30 tonight. I mean, Dortmund, my Cubs, you never know what you're going to get with Dortmund. They always provide entertainment, at least.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, huge win on the weekend, that comeback against Frankfurt, made all the more important by the fact that Bayern had obviously dropped 3 points on Friday, 6 points off them now. So, they've kind of cancelled out their loss to them before Christmas in that sense. And as much as they've come in for criticism over this year, they still have a number of players, a number of game changers in their team, don't they? So I think on a week by week basis, they always do have a chance. It's just whether they can, put together the kind of consistent performances that are needed to really challenge. And they've obviously also been hampered by injuries massively, and have been in the defence as long as I can remember now, to be honest. Akanji's still out, Zagadu's still out. But obviously they're coming up against a Freiburg side who've been particularly good defensively this year. I think this will be an interesting game. I don't know, it's a tough one. Freiburg have caused some really big upsets this year, haven't they? Notably beat Gladbach by 6 goals before Christmas, and maybe I feel like this is becoming a little bit like the Southampton 9-0 thing. We just would all never stop talking about it. So I'm a bit torn on this one. I'm not gonna lie. I feel a bit torn on this one. Maybe I will go for I might go for a draw on this as well. Yeah, we go out there. I'm gonna give you a 1-1.
1-1. Okay. Interestingly, when I was doing research for this, that would be Dortmund's 2nd draw this season. They've drawn one game all year, but records need to be broken. Guess the other 3 sides that have drawn one game this year. They are in front of you, but Bayern, Aston Villa, and Watford. Isn't that a random combination of teams?
I'm not surprised by
Watford
Watford, to be fair. Yeah.
Watford lose or win, clearly, and the rest of them do as well. But yeah, 1 draw for Dortmund. Couldn't believe that. So I'm not going for a draw personally. I think they might beat Freiburg. I'm going 2-0. Henry?
I agree with you. 2-1. Just shout out to Christian Striker again. I love him. He's everything that's right about football. He's been there for so long, forging a good team. I was reading a lot. It's a bit random, but I was looking at Tony Mowbray at Blackburn this year. I was like, he's been there so long now. He's brought them up from League One. Now it looks like he might get him into the Premier League. That's what happens when you give a manager time, and I think Striker is the ultimate example of that. We were just saying Schlotterbeck, this could be a good chance for him to show what he can do. Dortmund fans want him. He's been super impressive for Freiburg this year. Already looks ready, like he can move on. And shout out to Vincenzo Griffo, 4 goals, 6 assists in 18 league games. Just a very tidy outfit, aren't they? Dortmund seem to find a way to win games in a bizarre manner at the moment. So I'm gonna go for a 2-1, just because I'm gonna go for 2-1, but I'm not entirely convinced. It's hard, it's tough this week. They could all be draws.
It is tough. It is tough. Yeah, Vincenzo Grifo got a lot of credit. Was it in November that he dived for a penalty and then told the referee that it wasn't a penalty against, was it Wolfsburg? And then the opposing manager then said he was a credit to Christian Streich and Freiburg, which I thought was quite nice. Anyway, that's our score predictions for this week. Guys, get yours in the comments down below. And let's move on quickly to our quickfire question from Caps Lock. It's rate the top 5 managers in the world right now.
Wow.
I think that's personally quite silly to wrap up a long shoot with that. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions.
Yeah.
My Cubs, is Pochettino in the top 5 managers in the world right now? We need a quick answer.
I think he's still in there, just about. Yeah, I think it's.
Can we all assume that we're getting Klopp, Tuchel, and Pep in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I put Hansi Flick straight in.
Really?
I think what he did for Bayern and what he's doing for Germany.
Who's your 5th? Ten Hag? Poch.
So you put him over Nagelsmann as well.
We're still talking about Roy Hodgson? Is that still allowed?
Southgate.
Nagelsmann, yeah, Nagelsmann. Way better than
How did I forget Nagelsmann? Okay, we've only
It's
got
basically
one-
just Germany. Any manager in Germany.
Yeah,
right
I think
now.
I think fourth and fifth have to between Poch, Ten Hag, and Nagelsmann. Personally, I think Hansi Flick. Yeah, it's hard to put an international. I find it difficult to put an international manager in the top 5. I think I just.
Flick's a good shout.
He was brilliant at Bayern, but equally.
It's not just been at Bayern. He's been around for a very long time. Hoffenheim. He was part of the German backroom staff.
Yeah, but he wasn't. He wasn't a manager though, was he?
I know, but it's not as if he's come from nowhere. Like he's had a hell of a lot of experience.
But he's had 2 years of experience as a top manager.
I disagree with that. I think he's been in and around top level football for a lot longer than that. And
but not as a
you
manager.
could say Nagelsmann's only had like 3 years of top level experience because I mean.
Yeah, but he's been a manager since he was like 27, and he's he's had like 5 or 6 years in the Bundesliga as a manager.
I still disagree. I think Flick has to be in there for everything that he achieved with that Bayern squad. But I also think Nagelsmann probably sneaks in at 5 over Pochettino. I think Pochettino is what he's doing at PSG this year isn't impressive enough. It's just not impressive enough. And like, say what you want about Spurs. There's even Conte could be argued to be in the top 5. Like Conte.
Yeah.
How do we not even mention?
Conte would have been in my top 5, but he has been. He hasn't been great at Spurs.
He's only been there 2 months and they haven't made a signing yet. I'm like, give Conte a bit more time.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm kind of, Nagelsmann's definitely in there. I'm glad no one's mentioned Diego Simeone because he would not be in there for me. I actually quite surprised no one mentions Zidane even to be in that rough discussion. I mean, what he's done in football and management is pretty much unheard of. And the way he came back and won the league with that ultra impressive defence, I think was really impressive.
We are talking about right now, right? And Zidane's almost been out of a job for a year.
He did say right now, yes. Caps lock, fair enough. And maybe Hansi Flick
This is
gets
why
a little bit of a deduction there because right now, managing Germany, maybe not the hardest job in the world. But guys, I think we should probably do an episode on that because that was very, a good spicy debate. Anyway, Caps lock, thanks for your question. Guys, we need to wrap up Continental Club for another week. Thank you very much for watching. Henry, what would you recommend they go watch? You were talking about a scout report that you edited, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Sco, give that edit a load of likes.
It was a good edit.
It was good. Lucas Moura, love him. Really great player. His aerial win rate at the moment is unreal.
Check out that.
There are so many photos of him just winning headers. Like, it's so high off the ground. He's like a little spring. Yeah, that's good. And I think we've also got 5 clubs that tried to buy success and failed. So look at some of the sort of classic teams that spent big and flopped. No reason why we put that out right now as a.
Yeah, strange. Wonder he could be spending a lot of money.
Maybe. Nice one. Okay,
podcast.
Podcast that Henry hosted with Zach and Sam about the AFCON. Obviously, as this goes out, there haven't been too many majorly exciting games at the AFCON, but it is generally quite an exciting competition, isn't it? Very unpredictable. So go and check that out. Also did something on the African Super League on EFD Explained on Sunday. Go and check that out if you want. Yes. And then I think we've got another EFD Explained on Coutinho coming out in 2 days' time.
Oh, juicy. Can't wait to watch that one. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Peace and love. Have a great weekend. Bye.